finished basic, well, I joined what they call the combat course group, which was to train people for village fighting and quick fire courses, they call it back then, infiltration, the whole ball of wax, I would say. And from that, I went to Italy and joined the 88th Infantry Division as a replacement in the campaign north of Florence in the Apennine Mountains, where the Germans had had years to prepare their defenses, and no matter where you were in those mountains, they knew exactly how far it was to the nearest self-propelled gun or artillery piece. It was a difficult campaign. I was in the 351st Regiment, which on Mount Scarperia received a Presidential Unit Citation. Our battalion held off German regimental attacks for 3 days. It got to the point to where we had support troops at the division headquarters who were handed rifles and sent up to the front. We used German firearms that were picked up on the battlefield on that mountain. And we lost a lot of good people there. Then in late October, the winter set in the mountains, and we stopped. We went into what they call winter line, where it's all patrolling at night. And on the night of December the 6th, the first sergeant called us and says, well, have your people, I might explain that in the winter line they had a squad out in front of each platoon, several hundred yards out, where they would send out additional troops for combat patrols or have your squad do recon patrols trying to contact the enemy. Some nights you went out to fight, some nights you went out to listen. We've all been through that. And we were out in that position. We'd been there about 5 weeks. And they called and said, have your people ready to move out at 3 o'clock in the morning. Bring your canteen, your mess kit, your rifle, and your helmet. Leave everything else where it is. You're going to walk out and get a shower, 2 hot meals, and then tomorrow night you'll walk back in. So we went out and we got our shower and a change of clothes, had our hot meal and and our hot lunch, and was moving back up to the line. And I learned later that there was a German partisan with a radio that spotted us. And a shell came in, 100 yards or so out to the left of us, and we all piled out of the trucks. We knew that they had a pretty good idea. The second shell hit at my feet, and we were all out of the trucks by then and running. 170 millimeter shell hit within 3 feet of my feet. Those things are over before you know they start. But I knew you always have that survival instinct, and I knew I had to move, so I tried to crawl across a small creek bed to get up against the bank to try to get a little protection. I got about halfway across the creek, and I knew I couldn't make it. I turned over on my back and looked at my feet. I could see the blood coming out of my right boot, but I could not see my left foot. And I thought my leg had been blown off, but it had not. The bones had been shattered and my leg had flopped over when I turned over on my back. I'm not sure. I was in and out for a while, but I'm not sure if they loaded me. Finally, they got some support, and they loaded me on a Jeep to take me back to an aid station. We lost a company commander, 2 first lieutenants, and 8 men in that barrage. As the Jeep was going back, I'm not sure how it happened, but either an air burst or something, or a shell anyway, I was bounced off the front of the Jeep into a bank on the back of my head, and wounded again in the right shoulder. But they finally got me to an aid station. I appealed, sent me to 2 different hospitals, and I told them I didn't want them to take my leg off. They finally sent me to the 300th General in Naples. I got there on December the 10th. And I'm here today through the courtesy and the surgical skill of Wilbur K. Brubaker of Elyria, Ohio, and later Florida, when he retired for 60 days and moved to Florida for retirement and was back in practice after he had 60 days of retirement. He said, that's for somebody else. But he did great work. My shin bone, which was the worst, over 5.5 inches, was shattered into 30 pieces.
And Lou, you talked them out of, they wanted to remove your leg.
Yes, they did, and I pleaded and begged, and evidently got somebody who had enough heart to pass me off to somebody else. That happened twice, yes.
How many operations did you have after that?
I had 23 surgeries in all. That included the thighs and the hands, both feet, the left ankle and the left leg, over a period of time, several months. I was able to go home, or finally they flew me home, but it wasn't until I believe early April or late March when I was able to come back.
Did you think that you'd ever play baseball again after that?
I never thought of that. The only thing I thought my leg was gone.
Right.
And when I found out I had it, then my battle was to keep my leg. I never once wondered if I could. I wondered how. How can a guy with a bad leg be a pitcher? And I thought more about how I could adjust or compensate, whatever you want to call it. But I never really, anywhere in my mind, felt like I can't. My father had always taught me that those who say I can't never will. And I guess I'm a slow learner, but I guess he said it often enough and frequently enough for me to learn something from that.